Hey everybody, this is Peter with Tabletop Gaming Guild, and today we're going to be taking a look at the game Grindhouse. Designed by John Cohn, produced by Everything Epic, and as the box says, is a fast-paced, hair-raising narrative board game for 2 to 6 players. It can be played in 15 to 20 minutes. Now, the conceit of Grindhouse is that each of the players have been invited to the local haunted mansion known as the Grindhouse by the host, and you've been invited, and if you can survive for 12 hours or through the 5 rooms that you'll be playing through, then you will win $10 million. Each player's character card or playmat will give a little bit of a narrative as to why that $10 million might be good for them to win. And if you enjoy horror movies, slasher movies, and you love the Halloween season, this might be a game that you would be interested in. So we're going to go ahead and take the game down to the table. We'll open it up. We'll take a look at how the game is set up and how the gameplay resolves. Then we'll come back up from the table and I'll give you my final thoughts on Grindhouse. All right, so we're down to the table with Grindhouse, the board game. The first thing we're going to do is place our neoprene playmat at the center of the board within easy reach of all of the players. Next, we will begin shuffling each of our decks of cards. We are going to shuffle our room cards, our final room cards, which we know has the red border around it that matches the final room place on the playmat. We will shuffle the persona cards, and we will shuffle the item cards. Once all of these decks have been shuffled, we will begin laying out the room cards, starting with the regular room deck. We will go ahead and place one room on each of the room spots on the playmat. Then we will place a final room on the final room place on the playmat. Once you've placed all of your rooms, the rest of your room decks can go back to the box. They will not be used for the rest of this game session. The suggestion is then to leave all of the rest of the decks in the same order that you've just shuffled them into, and then ongoing as you continue to play Grindhouse, play through the rest of the deck without replaying any of these rooms that you have first put out. You can do that, or if it's hard to keep all of these in a specific order, you can just make sure to keep the rooms that you have used this game session separate, and then next time again, shuffle up your deck. The idea mostly being that once you have played with some rooms, you don't want those rooms mixed back in so that you have a high level of replayability for this game. After you've put the rest of the room cards into the box, you are then going to go ahead and give each player 2 item cards. They're going to choose one of those to secretly keep. The other one is going to go back into the deck once each of the players have an item card that they're going to play with. You can go ahead and shuffle up the item cards again and put them in a stack, easily available for the rest of the players if they were to happen to get more items throughout the game session. Next, each player is going to get 2 persona cards, and they're going to choose 1 persona card secretly again to play with throughout the game. Once the personas have been chosen, the rest of the persona cards can also go back into the box. They will not be used for the rest of the game. Next, each player is going to choose their player sheet. Each player gets a player sheet, and on here is a place for them to place face down their persona that they have chosen for the game. Most personas are going to be kept secret until either the player chooses to reveal them in order to enact a power, or if they turn into a ghost, if they have died, then they are required to go ahead and reveal their persona. Some persona cards do state that it needs to be revealed right away at the beginning of the game. If so, you go ahead and reveal it then. On your player mat, you are also then going to receive your body part tokens. Each one of these is a representation of the player mat, but with the number 1 instead of the number 2. This is for keeping track of wounds. And then on the other side, you will see no number because this is if the limb or body part has been removed or decapitated. So you have your wound tokens, your player mat, you'll have a persona card and an item card as well. Then each player is going to receive a D6. These are specific D6 that come with the game. They're white and red, obviously fitting into the theme of blood and gore. And they are a little hard to read sometimes with the gold numbering here. But other than that, they're nice chunky dice. Once each player has received their die, everybody will roll their dice, and the player who rolled highest will become the first player. And that, everybody, is how you set up a game of Grindhouse. All right, now that we have the setup done for the game, we can talk about gameplay, and gameplay is very simple with Grindhouse. The first player is going to flip over this first room card. They're going to read the card until they get to the portion of the card that says stop. And then everybody will take whatever action the top half of that card has asked. Sometimes it wants somebody to choose to be a volunteer with little to no information. Sometimes it wants everybody to roll their D6 and then see each other's results for some reason. And sometimes the room just does terrible things to you. Once you have finished the top half of the card, the first player will then read the second half of the card, if there is one, and they will let everybody know the results of that room. Once the first room is then completed, the first player goes to the person to the left of the original first player. They will then do the exact same thing with this room, reading it, stopping when it says stop, having everybody do the action that the top half of the card states, and then reading off the bottom half, and then again, play revolves around the table. You will do this in 5 rounds until you have finished all of the rooms. And that is the gameplay for Grindhouse. It's that simple. You're just going to be playing through each of these rooms. Each room's only going to take probably a few minutes, and the game is said to be played in 15 to 20 minutes. And having played this a few times, I can say that that is an accurate amount of time for this game to be played in. Now that we've discussed setup and gameplay, we can discuss a little bit more about the personas, the items, and the player board itself. So each player board comes with a very small bit of narrative for your character in case you want to immerse yourself in their story a little bit. And then each player board has the space for their persona card, and they can also keep their item nearby as well as their wound tokens. Like we stated earlier, on each player board, we can see that each body part comes with the number 2 written next to it. And this is important because if you have survived to the end of the game, you will be adding up each of these numbers, and that will be how many points you have scored at the end of the game. The highest scorer wins. Now, as you take wounds, you will see again that there are numbers on each one of these wound tokens, and it lowers your score by 1 point. So instead of each body part counting as 2 points, it will now count just as 1 point. Continuing through the gameplay, if you would to happen to have a limb or 2 severed off, you will see that there are no numbers on those, and again, lowering your score by 1 point per each severed limb. If at any point in time your torso or your head gets to 0, you are immediately dead, indicated by the skull symbol on each one of those wound tokens. So whether you have other limbs or not, if your torso or your head is taken down to 0, you are immediately dead and you have become a ghost. So that is how you are going to be keeping track of score. Again, you will only be scoring your body parts if you are not a ghost. The rules specifically state that survivors add up the score from their body parts. So Ghost will not be adding those up. You will just forget that at the end if you are a ghost. Now, there are ways for ghosts to win, and that is usually if their specific persona has been achieved as a ghost. Each persona has two parts on them. There's the part above the skull symbol, and there's the part below the skull symbol. The part above the skull symbol is your persona during the game and your goal for achieving a win or getting extra points. And the information below the skull is your agenda if you become a ghost. Specifically here, this one states at the end of each room, you may wound one survivor's limb of your choice, and if you kill your enemy, you also win the game. So each one of those, like I state, has information on it for your agenda if you are a survivor and your agenda if you are a ghost. Also, you will have at least one item card in the game. I have played through this game multiple times and have never actually come across a room or anything that gives us an additional item card. But at the beginning of the game, everybody will start with a single item card that they can reveal and use throughout the game if they so choose. So again, your goal is to make it through all of the rooms, hopefully as a survivor, meaning that your torso and your head have not been taken down to the skull symbols. You can finish this game a survivor with just your torso and your head with all limbs removed. If you do that, you will add up your points. You will add up any points that you receive from your persona, and hopefully if you have the highest score, you will win the game. And if you are a ghost, your character has died, you are a ghost, then if you meet your ghost agenda, you can also possibly win the game. And that is everything you need to know in order to play a game of Grindhouse. Now let's go ahead and come back up from the table, and I will give you my final thoughts on this game and how it plays. All right, everybody, so we're back up from the table. We've taken a look at Grindhouse, the setup and the gameplay, and now I'm going to go ahead and give you my final thoughts on the game itself. Let's go ahead and start with the pros. 9 out of 10, I love the components for this game, from the neoprene play mat in the middle of the board to all of the cards being done up on some really nice card stock, the wound tokens being made on a nice thick cardboard. I think the only two things that I didn't absolutely love about the components is the thinness of the player mats, each person's player mat. I think I would have loved that if it had been a thicker cardboard to match with the wound tokens, as well as the dice themselves. When you're rolling, the numbering has been done in a gold color, and it's a little hard to see at times. I think that would have been done better if it had been done up in black. But those are some pretty small quibbles. Overall, 9 out of 10 on the components. Now, for me, the cons. It comes down to the text on the cards as well as the gameplay itself. There are personas in this game that require you to be the lone survivor, and there are personas in this card that require you to help everyone else survive. So there is a lot of warring between these different personas, as well as the ghost personas, which most of the ghost personas just come down to one thing. At the end of each room, you're either going to hurt somebody or you're going to heal somebody. And that is most of what is happening here in the game, where the house itself wants to kill you, half of the personas want to kill you, and maybe a few of the personas want to try to help heal you. And so this is a game that can very quickly end with people just dying left and right. Maybe that is something that you would enjoy. For me, it just made the game feel a little too chaotic and swingy. There's a persona, once revealed, you just kill a person. One player, you just kill them and they're done. They're a ghost at that point. And again, at the end of the game, if there's survivors, they add up points. And the highest points win. And also, if you're a ghost and your ghost agenda happens on your persona card, then you could also possibly win. And if everybody dies, there might be a ghost or two that has a persona agenda that allows them to still win, even if everybody else has died. But there is a good chance that everyone's going to die. Your ghost agenda has nothing to do with that, and so your ghost agenda fails as well, and the host wins the game. This is a very swingy game when it comes to how to try to survive or kill people or even win. And the other thing is the text on the cards at times can be very ambiguous. And that makes the game grind down to a little bit of a halt. Now, the game still finishes somewhere in the 20 to 30 minute range, which is what the box says, but it's supposed to be a fast-paced game. And when you read a card and then everybody has to discuss what does that mean, it starts to grind things down to a little bit of a halt. And I think for me, that swinginess in the personas and how quickly somebody can possibly die and how hard it is to heal up and possibly survive, tied in with the ambiguousness of the cards and the text there, makes this a game that I don't think is going to see much more play at my table personally. I had this feedback from everybody that I played the game with, and so I feel pretty confident in my critique of the game. Now, does that mean that this is a game that's not for you? Absolutely not. Maybe you just absolutely love the horror theme. Maybe you love the Halloween time of year. Maybe you love slasher movies and you just want to play a quick, down and dirty game that kind of brings that theme to life. Well, then Grindhouse might be a game for you. Everybody, I hope you enjoyed watching this video. I hope that if you like Grindhouse, that you continue to play it. And if you're not sure about it, I hope this helped you to make a decision on whether you would like this game or not. So thank you for watching, everybody. Until we talk again, keep on playing games.